Hello, everyone. This is Eric Pennington, and welcome to the Spirit of EQ podcast. We're glad that you've tuned in. A few things we wanted to tell you at the beginning of the show, and that's this podcast was created to be a tool to help you, primarily to discover and grow your EQ. Science and our own lived experiences confirm that the better we are at managing our emotions, the better we're going to be at making decisions, which leads to a better life. And that's something we all want. We're glad that you've taken out the time today to listen and hope that something that you hear will lead to a breakthrough. Hey, one last thing. We'd really appreciate a review on whichever platform you use to listen. And if you want to, leave some comments about what you heard today, as well as follow and subscribe. That way you won't miss a single episode as we continue this journey. And with that, the show begins.
Hi, everyone. It's Eric. I've been thinking a lot lately about curiosity. And if you've listened to our show before, you know that typically gets injected at some point or another. And for good reason. It's almost in some ways like a superpower. And I know that term is kind of worn out these days, but it really is. It's a valuable tool to use in so many different situations. And it does connect to our emotional intelligence. And the idea there is that our curiosity opens up doors to learning, to gaining more understanding about what we're experiencing, what we're hearing. Now, that does imply that you got to be able to slow down and take it in. I don't know of many people who are running at a breakneck pace who can still be curious. Maybe there are, but I think typically those who are most curious are the ones that are able to kind of set aside this speed and shift the gear to a place where they can just take it in. This does connect to listening as well. And that's another area that we've talked a lot about on the podcast. But today I want to focus in just purely on curiosity and its connection to emotional intelligence. So ultimately, at the end of the day, in our model that we use, there are these competencies, and I connect curiosity to three of them. The first being recognizing patterns, the second one being intrinsic motivation, and then empathy. The definitions around those maybe are pretty clear, right? And I'm probably going to butcher the official here, but stick with me. So recognizing patterns, think of it as your game film, being able to know how you typically react, respond when you're in situations, interactions with other people, news you get from fill in the blank. The idea of intrinsic motivation, meaning that you are finding something inside of you that drives you to move, to do something, to go after something, versus an external motivation or extrinsic motivation, which is really derived by the pressure or the forces of those things or people outside of you. Then, of course, empathy. And empathy is connected to curiosity in as much as that it's a sincere desire to hear, to listen, to take in, to absorb. And again, I'm not playing with the exact definitions as we use in our model, but I think you know where I'm going. I think slowing down in many respects does imply an invitation from empathy. You know, this idea that I'm going to appropriately respond to emotions in that moment, whether they're the emotions in myself or in others. And quite frankly, if I may be so bold, I think emotions that might be flowing just from other forces that are not necessarily in human beings. I believe that from the perspective of like music. I think music is wrapped in the emotional zone. And there's certain things that music can sort of be a catalyst for that creates or brings on emotions. But that's another podcast episode as well. So let me just stay with the curiosity thing, Ben. So loosely, the definition, curiosity, being in a position of where you have a desire to learn, to want to see different angles, objectivity. You're just searching for more. You want to understand more. There's this, it's sort of this appetite thing, right? Where you might have taken 2 bites, but that's not enough. You need more. You need to digest more. And a great example of curiosity is when we are in conversation with someone. And if we were really honest, I think we'd say there's some conversations in our given day that we just try to get finished, right? We want to check the box. You may have a meeting with a superior or a coworker, whatever it may be, and you maybe on the face of it don't think that there's anything really that important that's going to come out of it. So you're just kind of in that mode of, all right, okay, we're going to meet from 9 to 9:30. Okay, what time is it? It's 9:20. Okay, we're almost done here, because you want to move on. Maybe you legitimately want to move on to something that you have more interest in fairness. But I've been finding a lot lately that every interaction that I have, every relationship brings value to me, but only if I'm exercising curiosity, which really is kind of daunting in a way, maybe a little embarrassing for me when I think about the number of times that I've been quick to dismiss an interaction or a conversation because I thought that there was something better ahead of me versus what is in front of me. So if we can say that that's what curiosity is, right? Then how does that go? How do we do that, right? And I'm going to kind of use some examples here that I think you could probably just implement pretty straightforward, pretty easily, right? So this is going to start. I'm going to give you a hard one. You're interacting with someone who you disagree with. Maybe you disagree with their politics. Maybe you disagree with their view on religion, or you disagree in the way that they use strategy and business and the kind of business approaches they have. Judgment is really easy. And I think that's one of the reasons why America has so many problems, because we continue to take that easy route. I want to get to this place, right, where I can maybe not be so avoidant of the hard things. But when we jump to judgment, we typically cut off learning. And think about it, it's kind of straightforward, right? If I know that you support a certain candidate, or if you think of a certain way of doing business as being incorrect or off mark or whatever, I can easily say, I don't agree with them, and then I shut the door. Because in many respects, your brain is going to support that because it's easy and it's efficient. 1, 2, 3, done. But remember what I said earlier about how many conversations, and that there's value even in the unseen and the not so obvious, right? So in that situation, if you find yourself, why not be intentional and just turn it around a bit to, I typically disagree with this person. I don't particularly like their approach to things, fill in the blank, whatever it may be. But you decide intentionally, I'm going to be curious. And I think one of the best ways to exercise the curiosity muscle, if you will, is open-ended questions. So, for example, it's John, and John is the person, and you typically don't like to be around John. You'd like to just hurry up, if I can just get out of this guy or whatever. Why not be intentional and go, well, John, tell me a little bit more about why you like, why you feel. Or maybe it's, John, tell me, what is it about that fill in the blank that makes you feel empowered, inspired? And then let them talk. And here's a key thing. I'm going to kind of hit back onto the listening thing just for a little bit. after asking those open-ended questions, after that curiosity is fueling those questions, there might be a temptation for you to prepare for a counter argument. You might start in your brain going, I know what he's going to say. Oh, here he goes. Judgment. This is really hard work. I get it. But with practice, it can be very powerful for you. Because I'm not saying you're being curious because you want you and that other person to spend the holidays together or go golfing or have dinner, whatever. It's the gathering of data. It's getting more understanding. Because what you might find out is that that person believes what they believe from a whole set of circumstances and experiences that you had no idea about. And the only way you would know about it is by being curious. So there's one example. The other is related to those closest to you. I don't think anyone would say that those closest to us have the deepest connection, right? And what I'm finding more and more every day, we have to protect those relationships and we have to continually be working to strengthen the connection because you're going to need them in good times and bad times and whatever it may be. You're going to need them. You want them to be healthy, robust, strong, right? But isn't it interesting how quickly those closest to us can be the ones that we tend to ignore, that we tend to not have time for, or we take them for granted, right? Oh, they've been with me since, yeah, I will, because you believe that time really isn't your enemy. And don't get me wrong, time isn't always an enemy, but time does take. And sometimes it takes in surprising ways when we don't really grasp the power of the moment with that other person, which is where I'm going. This requires, again, intentional work. So the intention is, okay, who are the people that I'm closest to? Where are my closest relationships? Whenever they give you the opportunity to be curious, you should take it up. You should really take advantage of that. Because one, it's going to strengthen the connection. Because think about it, you showing curiosity and you listening and asking those powerful, open-ended questions is a statement of you, better way to say it, how you value them. And once that's communicated, it builds that strength. It builds the strength, it creates the strengthening of connection. So let's not take those people for granted. Let's remember how important they are. So here's another example. Let's just say it's from an employee-employer situation, business, right? Your company is saying, this is the strategy and these are the tactics. This is where we're going. This is why, on and on and on. Maybe you should be intentional there too. Be curious. Raise your hand and ask the questions. Be polite. Be respectful. Ask them, help me understand. When we do this, what's our objective? Like, what's the end point of this? How can I know that my role will have impact? Fill in the blank. Showing that curiosity, again, even in a business relationship, it strengthens connection. It gives you a greater sense of vision about what it is and why it is you're there, right? Your participation. And it's going to help you to learn more. And in general, though, we've touched on, relational type things. I think this is really the key to being a lifelong learner and not being, how would I say, not taking for granted all of these various opportunities that we're presented with every day of our life. So, why is it important? Maybe that's obvious to you now in the examples I gave. But what happens when we're not curious? I think that speaks to why it's so important. Because typically, not always, but typically, if you're not curious, you're probably judgmental more often than not. And I get it. It's not a one or the other thing. It's probably shades of percentages, right? You may have certain parts of your life where absolutely you're curious and you want to know more. You want to learn more. You're interested. You're engaged. And then you might find that maybe that's 10% of your life, but then there's 90% you're not very curious. You're just kind of, hey, I need to get to where I want to go. I don't like this person. I don't like that particular person. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't want this. I want that. It becomes very, very judgmental. Not a lot of data, right? The other part of it is that if you come to a conclusion about a matter, and especially another human being, you better be very careful here. And here's what I mean, because I've done it too. Okay, I'm in the tribe. Is that I made big statements about certain people, and I had maybe 30% of all the information I needed to come to that judgment, that conclusion. It's a weak set of data. It's a weak data point, right? If I were to ask you, hey, I want you to go into business with me, and I've got a business plan, and I tell you right up front, my business plan is missing 70% of the information that you're going to need to make a good, solid decision about whether or not you're going to invest and participate. What would you say to me? I think I have a pretty good idea. Find somebody else, Eric. Right? So, what would I want to do if I want you to invest and to work with me? I'm going to make sure that business plan, as best I can, is going to get as close to 100% because I don't want you to operate without good, solid data, reliable data. But once again, the irony with other human beings, we don't apply that same approach. Interesting, isn't it? Human beings who are far more valuable than a business idea or an entity do not get the same scrutiny, the same desire to figure out. We just don't. And I get it. I don't want to make it sound like it's the easiest thing in the world to do because it's not. At the end of the day, human beings, we rub up against each other. We push each other. We irritate each other. We're judgmental. I mean, all of those different things that happen in relationships. It's messy. And some of you might say, that's why I'm not so curious because I don't really want to bother with it. I don't want the headache. I really don't care. I'm just saying that by intentional work, you might discover some things, especially again, if you're operating with only 30% of the data that you need to really come to a full, good, solid conclusion about the other person. Last thing I want to give you before I close out for the episode today is this idea of the work, the intentional work. In the beginning, if you try any of these ideas that I gave you, some of them are going to be very clunky. It's going to feel very unnatural. And you might even have the person who is experiencing your curiosity to look at you as if, what's wrong with you? Well, why are you asking me all these questions? Keep in mind, it more than likely because their brain has normalized your judgmental approach to things, right? And if it's the right kind of relationship, if it's strong enough, close enough, you can say to them, be vulnerable. Hey, I'm thinking I haven't been curious enough. I think I've been too judgmental. So if I'm asking you all these questions, it's because I'm trying to become this person who's more curious, who wants to learn more, so that when I make the decision, the judgment, I can be confident that I'm making the right decision. More than likely, if it's a solid relationship, they'll appreciate that. They might even be inspired that you'd be willing to take a look at your life and see where there needs to be improvement. And that's very, very, very powerful. But it's intentional work, and you have to stay at it. One of the constant refrains in our work that we tell our clients, we're building a practice. And every building process starts with mud and dirt and foundation. And we don't get there overnight. It takes time. It takes intentional work. Thanks for tuning in. We look forward to the next time that we're together.
Hi, everyone. This is Eric Pennington with the Spirit of EQ. I'm not introducing a new episode today. I'm here to tell you some things that might help you. Jeff, you're with me as always. So
yes.
How do people get in touch with us?
Well, the best way is just send us an email at info@spiritofeq.com.
That's awesome. Jeff, I was also thinking about reviews, and I'm notoriously bad at asking for them, so reviews on all of the platforms wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Do you think that'd be good?
I think that would be great because, one, that will help us learn how to make better ones, and it's always good for us
So
to hear.
we're not the perfect podcast host?
We're close.
Okay, all right, but
not,
still,
not totally
we want
perfect.
your feedback.
But it also might let us know a new subject. Hey, we need to dig deeper into that.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think.
Cool. We really appreciate that. As always, too, there is social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we also have a YouTube channel. Those also have mechanisms or options for you to be able to leave a comment, a like, or those kind of things. Just want to make sure that you know how to get in touch with us. Right, Jeff?
Right. We appreciate you all.
Thank you. Once again, we really appreciate you tuning in today. One of the things that Jeff and I want to bring to your attention as well is that when we created this podcast, it was not intended to take the place of a clinician. In other words, if you find yourself in a place where there's something deeper going on or something that you cannot solve on your own, we do recommend that you reach out to a clinician of some sort. This podcast is purely opinion-based, and it is rooted in the desire to help you along your path in whatever way we can. However, it is never going to replace, nor should it ever be looked at as a replacement for clinical help in any way. Thanks again for tuning in.